The man looked far away in horror, only to see a few kilometer-long crack suddenly appear on the sea. He hurried to board the plane, but before everyone got on the helicopter, a huge wave hit the cruise ship. The giant wheel of 100,000 tons was blown away in the blink of an eye, and the drill platform next to it was also blown away by the huge wave. But with a lot of seawater poured into the crack, the giant wave on the sea almost disappeared. And the worker working at the bottom of the drill platform also found something. When he looked up, a hard pipe was blown away by the wave. Then, the explosion caused the giant wave to blow the helicopter left and right. Luckily, when the drill platform collapsed in front of him, the helicopter pulled up from the sea in time. Looking at the drill platform burning after the explosion, several people were shocked. However, this happened a few days ago. A week ago, a sea drill platform on the North Sea coast sank to the seabed. The command immediately sent rescue experts Xiao Mei to the rescue. Soon they rushed to the rescue ship on the sea. With the help of the search and rescue robots, they soon found a group of survivors. But the survivors suddenly coughed violently. At this time, the WAS detector also issued an alarm. Unconsciously, he immediately reported the news to Li Jun. But he didn't wait for them to respond. In the next second, he thought the disaster was over. But when Xiao Mei and her colleague Xia Shuai looked at the robot video, they found something even more terrifying. There were more WASDs in the crack at the bottom of the drill platform. Things seemed to be heading in a more serious direction. Xiao Mei immediately reported this situation to the company executives. The senior officials also paid close attention to this matter. They immediately called on the company executives and various professional experts to conduct research. At this time, everyone realized that the collapse that occurred at the bottom of the sea 8,000 years ago seemed to happen again. Because of the long-term oil exploration, the bottom of the sea was quickly emptied. A more serious collapse at the bottom of the sea was about to occur. The senior officials realized the seriousness of the problem, so they immediately ordered to close all the drill sites in the distance and evacuate all the staff as soon as possible. With the help of the Joint Rescue Center, the evacuation work of all the staff was going on steadily. But when the staff was about to close the last oil well, the system could not be connected at all. At the last moment before the evacuation, Xiao Mei's husband, Zhuang Ji, took the initiative to take a task. Then he took the elevator to the control room at the bottom of the sea. However, an accident suddenly occurred. The staff in the control room accidentally found that all the drill sites had lost signal at this time. At this time, Zhuang Ji had arrived at the control room of the oil well. Just when he was about to close the door, a strange sound suddenly came out. When he came to the wall of the sound, he found a 2-meter-thick wall of water. Confused, he looked up. The seawater of Chengdu swam down instantly. Brother Qiang immediately bent over and hid. After the accident, the senior officials immediately told Xiao Mei. Xiao Mei begged the company to send a rescue team to save her husband. But the senior officials did not want to let more people die because of one person. So they refused Xiao Mei's request. When Xiao Mei saw her husband's last video before his death, she could no longer hold back her tears. However, at this time, the staff suddenly found that the 2 escape hatches in the oil well were opened. Zhuang Ji may still be alive. This gave Xiao Mei hope at the moment. So regardless of opposition, she immediately took the equipment with Xia Shuai to the drill site where the accident occurred. Based on the remaining platform structure map, the two quickly determined the location of Zhuang Ji. A search and rescue detector was released at random. With the help of Hongwen County, they finally found Zhuang Ji's figure. The two ran through the spiral stairs of hundreds of floors to the connection between the 2 drill wells. Finally, they found Zhuang Ji, who was alive further down. The site suddenly collapsed at the bottom of the sea and destroyed half of the drill well platform. The oil sprayed out from the broken oil well and soon filled the sea surface of more than 100,000 kilometers. And the polluted area is still expanding. Once it reaches the coastline, all living things in the entire North Sea Bay are difficult to escape. And to recover to the state before the disaster, it takes decades or even hundreds of years. When everyone was helpless, the senior officials suddenly proposed a solution. He thought that the oil sprayed out at this time was still in a dense state, and the thickness could be ignited. As long as the oil is ignited, this crisis can be solved. But this is not a decision that the board can afford. So he quickly contacted the general manager, and the general manager also agreed to their method of igniting oil. Then the two F-16 fighters took off quickly and flew to the sea at a speed of 1.6 miles per hour. They were going to use missiles to ignite these oils. At this time, Xiaomei had already got out of the trapped tent. When the three saw the scene in front of them, they were shocked and couldn't say anything. Then they immediately contacted the headquarters for help. When they knew that the three were still alive, they immediately told this news to the senior officials. However, at this time, the fighter had already launched the missile. Under the shock of Brother Qiang, a fire broke out on the distant sea. It only took 5 minutes for the fire to spread to the drilling platform where they were. At this time, the headquarters were not enough to send a rescue plane. At this time, Xiaomei suddenly had an idea. The three immediately ran towards the escape pod equipped with the platform. They just need to put the escape pod into the sea and let the escape pod sink to the bottom of the sea. In this way, they can escape under the fire. However, when the three completed the water supply, a fire-resistant water bag was suddenly grabbed. They didn't realize that they were pulling out the water bag hard. A safety buckle was pushed back. Then the three immediately sat in the escape pod. Xiaomei pulled down the release switch, but there was no movement. Although she tried many times, the escape pod still didn't move. Xia Shuai immediately opened the cabin door and checked outside. He finally found that a safety buckle was not opened. But once the safety buckle was opened, the lifeboat would fall into the sea. Looking at the fire in front of him, Xia Shui immediately closed the cabin door and pulled up the last safety buckle. The escape pod that sank to the bottom of the sea successfully escaped the fire. But Xia Shui lost his life in the fire. At this time, there was an accident in the escape pod. Xia Shui was in a severe shock and fell into a coma. And he was the only one who knew where the release switch was. At this time, the escape pod kept sinking to the bottom of the sea. A lot of seawater flowed in. Although Xiaomei tried hard to find it, she couldn't find the release switch. Fortunately, Xia Shuai finally woke up at this time and told Xiaomei where the release switch was. As the release switch was activated, the escape pod began to slowly sink to the bottom of the sea. The couple was finally rescued by the copter and ignited the fuel produced by the oil until it slowly dissipated a year later. The film ends here. The Mother of the Earth raises humans, but humans are constantly hurting the Earth. Shouldn't humans reflect deeply?